Okay, how about I just sit like this the entire time and have like really intense stare going on. Relaxing. Looking normal. I'm normal. Very normal. Very normal person. Set fire to my house last month. That was fun. I had to completely redo my entire bedroom because everything I owned was marked as non-salvageable. It was filled with smoke. But we're not going to talk about that. We're going to talk about books. In 2017, I worked in a bookstore that was in one of those little holes in the wall in shopping centres. I'm not sure how universal this concept is, but there's a small shop space. They haven't found a real tenant for it yet. So these weird little temporary businesses pop up and just go for as long as they can before the lease gets offered to someone who can pay real rent and can build fixtures and a ceiling. I worked in one of those strange little shops. It was a bookstore where every single item, and it was only books, we didn't sell socks or novelties or anything like that, every single item was $10. And I had to explain that to everyone who came in multiple times over because no one ever believed me. I'm not sure how much $10 Australian is in the currencies of the world, but it's very cheap for books. The books were all really cheap because they were all remaindered. And that's when a bookstore, a proper bookstore, can't sell all of the stock they have purchased from a publisher. So they return those books that they have purchased back to the publisher. And sometimes these books end up getting pulped, which is usually when there's a hell of a lot of them. But sometimes, all of the time, publishers want to make money. So they will offer remaindered book bundles for wholesale to whoever will buy them, and they're insanely cheap because most of the time nobody wants these books, and that has just been proven by the real booksellers. And the business model of the place where I worked at was that the head office bought up a whole bunch of remaindered books, and then we sold them all, and they were all $10 each off the shelf. And so this meant that we got a lot of crazy stupid shit, a lot of boring shit, a lot of small press, doesn't do well stuff that's not weird enough to be interesting, some stuff that was weird and interesting. But we also got a lot of stuff that was genuinely good and in some cases even popular, just in like formats and editions that didn't sell well or didn't sell in a particular market, or that a specific bookstore hadn't been able to move and had returned to the publisher. Just for whatever reason, actual books had somehow ended up in our very unreal bookstore. And I read a lot of obscure, weird stuff. I have a lot of that stuff still on my shelf that I hold quite dearly in my heart. But one day I picked up and purchased a YA fantasy book that was currently, doing the numbers, as the children want to say. And that book was The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. And I will be real with you, I don't remember much anything about this book except for the fact that I did not like it at all. I was reading much more YA fantasy then than I am now, and I ended up hating most of it, which is why I don't read much of it now. Some of it was really good, but The Bone Season stuck out to me in a way that it sort of exemplified a lot of issues that I personally had with the genre, in that the overwhelming impression that remains with me is one of shallowness. And I don't necessarily mean that the book was emotionally shallow, or that the author is shallow, or that the readers are shallow. I mean that I couldn't physically, it's not physically, but I couldn't get into it. Like I was the wrong shape for the book. I never felt like the world of The Bone Season was anything more than a hollow set. Like it was the pretense of a book, just going through the motions of fiction without anything actually there to hold it up or to offer any substance. This is a pretty weird pull, but a series of games that I like are Monster High and Monster Camp, and those are absurdly paper thin in their pretense, and they regularly lean on their own sets so hard they fall through it. They draw a lot of attention to how ridiculous their worlds are and how nothing makes any sense. And the Bone season to me felt like that without the comedy, like it was doing it straightforward. I don't remember much anything of the plot or the characters, except for that the love interest made my skin crawl, that's all I can remember. But it just felt like things happened when it reached a checkpoint where something would happen in a real book, and there was no sense of cause or effect. There was just stuff happening because stuff happens in books, and none of it meant anything, and none of it was enjoyable to read. And I'm really going in on this, but that's how I felt. That's all I remember of the book. And all of this is to say, when I heard that the hot, new, majestic, dense, epic fantasy was by Samantha Shannon, I thought it was a different author. It's not that rare of a name. I thought it was just a different person with that name, or that maybe I had misremembered the name of the person who wrote The Bone season, or that I was misreading the author of The Priory of the Orange Tree. I didn't think it would be the same person because everything I was hearing about The Priory of the Orange Tree seemed to be the exact opposite of The Bone season, which meant that everything I was hearing about it was appealing to me, and that was weird. As I said, the main problem I had with The Bone season was this sense of shallow emptiness, but everything I was hearing about The Priory of the Orange Tree was dense and serious, not in the sense that like, oh, serious, because The Bone season felt like that too, but serious in that it took itself seriously, that it met its mythology on its own terms, that it went into its world building and the implications and the ethics of what it was saying, that it was saying something, and that it interrogated itself, that it was big, and that there was stuff impacting other stuff, and characters grappling with what that meant for them, for their world, and for the meaning of it all. And there's the elephant in the room that it had gay people in it. So I was getting annoyed because there's no way that this book could be good. I don't have a secret backstory or emotional reason why I'm this stubborn. I'm just like this. I feel like popular fiction is something that's really easy to end up acting like this about, to get so stuck in your way, to get mad that you might like something, to get mad about hearing about something, because it's just, I find a lot of the language and promotional material and strategies and just the conversation around popular books to be so deeply annoying. I don't know how to articulate why it's so grating. I just want everyone to shut up. Yes, this is hypocritical. Do you want to fight about it? I put off buying the damn book until 2021, despite the fact that it was initially published in the UK in 2019, and it ended up here in 2020, I think, almost definitely, if not 2019. And so I didn't buy it until Mardi Gras 2021, and then I still haven't read it, and it's almost Easter 2022. And, there's a lot of reasons why. I mean, when I was reading other stuff, I am reading other stuff. When you're looking for something new to read, it's easier to pick up a new book that you have that's small compared to a new book that you have that's a slab. But I'm curious. Is this book that ticks so many of my personal boxes going to tick the box of me actually liking it? Or is there going to be some sort of insurmountable hurdle in Samantha Shannon's writing that means I personally will not be able to, get into it? And I mean that, personally, I'm not theorizing that she's secretly a truly terrible writer and everything she writes will be horrible. But maybe she is also. Maybe that's the case. Maybe this is one of those books where it gets popular and it's well liked and talked about because it's something that feels good to talk about. But deep down, when you read the book, it's just not good. But maybe I will like it. I want to know. I've got to find out. So I'm going to make myself find out by making myself read it, by humiliating myself on the internet by doing a reading vlog. I've never done like a vlog series or anything before. Like, obviously I've sat here and I've talked about books before. I've sat in this literal room. I think I've only produced videos in this room despite the fact that I moved out for a full year. But I did do a video over there. Oh my god. Okay, so yeah, I'm back in my dad's house because like he's getting sicker and I'm getting crazier. So I'm making a vlog and I don't know when I will be able to film stuff for it necessarily. So I have no idea what my schedule for this is going to be like. Also because I've never done a vlog. I've never done a vlog before. I've done a blog before. I've had a Tumblr for a decade. So I'm not sure what the upload schedule is going to be like, much less how often I sit there with the camera and say things like, should I check in every 50 pages, every 100 pages? We can be here all year and I can do it chapter by chapter, which could be fun. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to like the book, and this is like getting me excited. I'm excited to read this, which is more novel than it should be. As someone who is always reading something, I'm always reading something. Let's not talk about the time I set my house on fire, which the time I set my house, it was like a month ago. Always reading something, and I don't always like it. But it's interesting, I'm now wondering if maybe I'm stymieing my own enjoyment of this, or potential enjoyment of it. Because I think I might be more invested in the potential narrative between me and my perception of Samantha Shannon than I am in any narrative she could actually write. But maybe the book will be good. Maybe the book will be good. Maybe the book will be bad. Maybe it will be really, really bad. Maybe it'll be mediocre and I have to read like a fucktillion. How long is this bitch? I have to read 830. That's probably not actually how much story is in there. There's like acknowledgements and whatevers. I'll have to read 830 pages of something I don't really care about. Maybe that will be what happened. And just like with everything else I do, I'll abandon this vlog series. But I want to give it a try. And I'm not sure how long it's going to take. I'm not sure how regularly I'm going to say my thoughts, or how regularly those thoughts will be collated into a video, or how long those videos will be. But I'm just going to give it a go. I'm going to live my life reading this book the same way that I live my life reading all other books. And when I have thoughts, I will express those thoughts. Maybe those thoughts will end up on the internet. Maybe they won't, I'll just give up. So, I'm saying all this stuff before I touched the book. I mean, I've touched the book before, I've read anything in the book before, I've looked at anything besides the back cover, which is driving me nuts. Like I said, it gets under my skin the way books are promoted. It's... I don't know why this quote from the Sunday Times calling it a feminist Lord of the Rings is pissing me off, but it is, it's pissing me off. I don't know why, but it's pissing me off. I don't know why they chose to have like a quote from stylist.co.uk. I don't know what that website is. It doesn't sound like an authority on books. I don't know why they chose the author to give a pull quote to be Kemi Garcia, who wrote Beautiful Creatures, which I think I have seen lampooned on this side like 10 billion times. And my hair is falling flat again. I never know what to do with my hair, you know? I cut it short and I'm like, I liked it long. I let it grow out and I'm like, oh, I gotta get this short again. I think a reading vlog will give me a nice sense of structure. So, I have not read this book. I have not read the first page of this book. I'm going to finish talking now. But the video will not end here. I will read some of it, however much it takes me to get a decent amount of commentary out, and then I will add it onto this book. No, fuck. I will add it onto this video, and I will publish the video to YouTube. I'm going to stop talking now, because I have been talking for ever. It's been 20 seconds, and there's 2 full maps in here, and I just found out that there's like dramatis personae at the end, telling me who everyone. I love shit like that, but also it's amazing because if there's one thing that's like the easiest way to showcase all of the most like vulnerable soft spots of fantasy world building, it's a map. You look at the map and you're like, I like to see the way that you have constructed this place name. Look shit. But I don't even have any specific examples. I'm just going in here thinking about how I think about books and how I think about maps and books, and I don't know if it sucks or not. Okay, I don't know why these are all different deserts down the bottom here. I'm not getting a sense of what's in between the deserts, or if they're different, like socio-political regions. It's all desert there, and these are just like different names for different parts of the same desert. Now this is petty, but the phrase choosing day is just reminding me of every single one of those dystopian YAs that came out like in the Hunger Games boom. It's like, today is the day of my becoming. I will decide whether I eat with forks or spoons for the rest of my life. Yeah, I stopped filming and I just kept sitting in this exact spot reading. I just want to say, I feel a little weird about when like fantasy stuff mimics specific cultures or takes inspiration from them. That I get. When it then takes like specific historical instances and then uses them, it feels a little weird. Like here, the clearly Japan-inspired Seiki is like undergoing a period of isolation, specifically from the West, and that feels weird. Because like I get it when you borrow like cultural elements of a time and a place. It makes sense that those elements are tied to the events of that time and place. But at the same time, it feels like it's stepping into the realm of just playing with that historical happening without engaging with it. It feels kind of, I don't really, trivializing in a way, but a very specific kind of way. Like in that it's hard to like put a specific pin on ways that it is disrespectful. Specifically, it just feels, I don't know, like you're letting the leash a bit too far, like you're going a bit too much into it. And the sense I got from everything I was hearing about this book was that it was very original. And so broad strokes, like isolationist Japan is like a large enough historical period and, you know, political strategy structure of, you know, an entire era. But it still feels a little too close to reality, because like once you get like that close to reality, there's like a whole bunch more baggage that comes with the real world that you sort of feel like you should be addressing. I don't know, I just wanted to flag that. I'm curious to see like how much that feeling will wax and wane over the course of this book. because like I didn't mention, but it specifically begins with an author's note that like the fictional lands of the Priory of the Orange Tree are inspired by events and legends from various parts of the world. None is intended as a faithful representation of any one country or culture in any point in history. And like I get that. I feel like that's an important thing to underscore, especially when you're like a white author writing about a lot of different cultures where they have influences from a lot of different cultures that you're not a part of. Um, but yeah, it does feel a little close, just at least right now, a little close to being like you need to either engage with this fully or you need to recognize that you're not prepared to engage with this at all and back off a bit. I will say though, so far stuff is happening. It's better than I could say for the bone season. Day 2. These are 2 fingers. What I said before about the borrowing of real world cultural elements in fantasy, it's having an interesting impact on my perception of the world building, specifically how interested I am in it in a questioning way. Like in reading it, I want to find out more about the world building. It's succeeding in that part, but only in a very specific way, because with how heavily it's drawing on like specific real world cultural stuff and keeping those cultural elements like contained within themselves and adding not a whole lot extra new shit so far. It's very clear that like, oh yeah, Ineos is England and Mettenden is like the Free Dutch state and Seiki is Japan and stuff, and like uh, the Empire of the 12 Lakes is China, and it's simple and like clear enough that I'm like not that interested in finding out more about those places because I feel like I already know about those places because I understand the real places that they're based off of, or at least I have like an impression of those places. But there is one aspect where the story is like captivated me, it makes me want to learn more, and that's in the element of religion. And it's interesting to me like how rigid the cultural elements borrowed from the real world are staying within their real world delineations, um, to the point where it feels a little silly to have something that rigid and then a theology that's so new and interesting. And I feel like that's the theology is where all of what I was hearing about this book being like new and interesting and engaging is coming through. Um, I'm like genuinely curious about like what the different kinds of dragon are. What's the difference between like a worm, a wyvern, a draconic beast? I want to know what the nameless one is. I want to know what the hell is going on in the place that starts with a Y that's suddenly worshipping the evil dragon. Why they decided to do that? How that happened? Um, how it's possible to have such a massive theocratic cultural shift in a society that apparently very recently saw that exact figure as like Satan, and like how that religious conversion took place and how that theocracy, that understanding, putting the nameless one in the place of a god, how that came to be, how it was developed. I'm really interested in all that stuff. And it's just bizarre to have it butt up against what feels like really rigid, like boundaries, a really strict adherence to what the real world is like, to our understanding of history and specific historical societies. It's a little odd because I forget what's the place with the Y, the Draconic Kingdom. I've got to go back to the maps. Iskilin, yeah, that the linguistics of the names there are very clearly drawing off like Spanish names and languages. Um, so it's like pinging in my brain like the relationship between like Islamic Spain and the rest of Europe, how there was that very very strict and sudden religious divide, but that was like the result of centuries of war and like the history of like all the crusades and shit and all of the schism between those two Abrahamic religions. And here it feels like there's that sudden relationship between Iskalin and the other Western countries without all that history of those religions. Like the draconic worship there feels like a new thing. And I'm interested to see how this book deals with that. I'm also interested to see what the religion of like Ursa in the south is like, because like the language features there are very Arabic, and you know, like Eid is talking about like how she's seen as being like heretical in a Western court, and they're like curious about like how she was raised religiously, and I'm curious about that too. Like, how is that going to be handled? Like, what's going on there? What's their relationship to dragons? Also, what's the difference between like the Seiki and Laconic Lakian dragons? What's the difference between them and the dragons in the West? Like, it feels like, I don't know, that there's a lot of like typological differences here in types of dragon, and I'm not getting any of that, which is making me interested, but I'm also like curious to see how that's going to be explained in a way that is satisfactory while also not, you know, being too clinical or expository in a boring way. So I recorded that, and then like immediately the thing that I read afterwards was Eid talking about like how she had been raised and her theological understanding of the myth of the saint and the damsel, or the mother as it is to her. And like I'm so interested in it, in the idea of this theological schism being created by different interpretations of the myth of the princess, the knight, and the dragon. Like, I'm so mad. That's so cool. That's so cool. I love that. So interesting. Fuck. I do have to say, trying to keep the character names Rosalind and Rosarian, Rosalind and Rosarian different from each other, despite the fact also that there's like 4 Rosarians throughout history. It's hard. I don't know which of these women you're talking about, my dude. And that's good to know, because like for a couple of years I've been wondering, oh, I have a character named Laurel and a character named Lore in the same story, and is that hard to pass? And yes, it is very hard to pass. It is fucking impossible to get my head around. And that is how I know I'm enjoying the book, because the number one thing that I like in reading fantasy is when it makes me want to write. And it does. I pick up this book and I'm like, oh, I have all these ideas. I love this genre. I have so many things I want to say. I have all these, such vivid images in my fucking mind. I'm liking the book.